Welcome to Money on Steroids podcast. Today we have a special guest to me. In our podcast, we are talking about entrepreneurship. We are talking about money in general. We are talking about investing, about wealth, about trading, about cryptocurrency. We treat a lot of interesting topics. And today the topic is going to be entrepreneurship, going from the corporate life to entrepreneurship. So, hello, Mahdi. Mahdi.
Hello, nice to meet you. Well, I already know you, so.
So Mahdi is a 20 years old entrepreneur. He is the CEO and founder of Turban AI.
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself like in 1 minute or two? We don't want to get to the good part yet.
Of course. I think you said I'm 20, but I wish I was 20. I'm 29.
29 years old, sorry.
Yeah, well, my name is Mahdi. Well, you know that already. I'm from Algeria. I live in Canada. I studied at McGill University. I studied business. Worked at PwC, DXC Technology, so typical corporate consulting background. And now I co-founded Turban AI, which is a platform for specific ERP consultants to find contracts.
Amazing. Tell me more about how did you start your career? The day you finished university, what was the choices that you had?
Actually, I started my job search like a year in advance because I had really good advice. And so I knew that if I waited until graduation to look for a job, it would be very difficult. And so I knew that I wanted to go into consulting. I actually attended a lot of information sessions in university. And then, I discovered consulting by chance. And I thought to myself, like, it's going to be a good job, not a routine, well paid. And I had the chance to also travel a little bit. So I was like, okay, consulting it is. And so I optimized all of my application, my resumes, etc. And I, started just applying to these jobs. And that's how I got my first job at PwC, I think 3 months before graduating.
Nice.
So I was very specific in my job search. I didn't really apply to like any job.
Great. And what was your first job?
At PwC as a Workday consultant.
Okay.
So Workday, for the ones who don't know, is an ERP. An ERP is a big software. I like to describe it this way.
Yeah.
It's a software that manages HR and finance for big companies. So as a Workday consultant, my goal is to implement this software in businesses and optimize it.
And why Workday?
That's a funny story. So I will tell the truth in this podcast. I do not tell this people
Only
usually.
the truth.
Basically, I remember I opened the PwC website. PwC is one of the big four firms, so it's a company. I opened the PwC website. I started my application. The application was technology consulting, right? And it had options where you needed to choose the technology you wanted to be a consultant in, right? They had SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, and Workday. Okay. And I was like, okay, so Workday seems interesting because I remembered that a girl in my class was also a Workday consultant, but I didn't have the details, right? But then I said, I told myself like Workday, and believe it or not, I really thought like I was going to work during the day. No, because everyone said that consulting you'll be working crazy hours at night during the weekends, etc. And I thought that I was gonna choose also my schedule. So I was like, you know what, let me be safe. I'll take Workday because I heard it in class, and also because it seems like I'm gonna work during the day and not to work crazy hours. So that's the real story. But now I know that Workday is a software; it's not a schedule.
That's crazy because it's all God's plan for me. Because even me, when I chose my first job, my first job was a PCO, a project control officer.
Yeah.
And it seemed really fancy. It was like, project control officer, I need to do that. And the other job didn't just sound that fancy, and I didn't take it. And that shaped like my whole career. Like, so it's just so funny that you two
have first impressions.
Just took the name. Anyways, so did you like the conditions working in PwC? Like, did you like your salary? Did you like what you were doing? Your corporate life?
I think back then it was January 2018. I started at 62K, which was better than most new grad jobs at that time. I remember most of my friends started at 50, 55. So I was quite happy with the salary. The conditions were great. I think PwC is known for a great culture, great work-life balance.
Nice.
However, I think I didn't have a lot of luck during that period because I got all the certifications, the training, etc. But it took over 8 months before getting a real project. So I had a lot of free time during that first year. I had nothing to do, even though like I was trying to reach out to my colleagues and saying like, "Hey, can I help somewhere?" etc.
Okay.
But the problem in consulting, I'm not sure if you had this experience, is you will reach out. I will reach out like 3 times, like give me some work. They would say no. And then they would say like, hey, you're not proactive enough. Like, hey, why aren't you like working and etc. So I had this struggle during my first year.
North American corporate life.
Exactly.
You need to be more talking about it. You need to be talking about what you're doing more than doing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's what I learned later on. But yeah,
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
still new to the corporate life. So
Exactly. So what happened after PwC? Why you left and where did you go?
So yeah, because of that, because of the lack of projects, I would say, in 2 years, I was involved in like 3 projects,
Okay.
which is way less than the average consultant. The average consultant in Workday, they would be involved in like 10 projects in 2 years. And so I moved on to DXC Technology. I knew a friend there. He referred me, and I had 2 things that I wanted at DXC. One, DXC was based in the US, and I
Okay.
wanted more US clients. And 2, I was gonna have a bigger role, so more
Nice.
projects, more exposure, more training. So those were my 2 reasons. So in November 2019, I switched to DXC.
Okay. Without entering in the details, like, did you like your conditions at that particular time?
At DXC?
Yeah, DXC.
Yeah, it was 100% remote. And since the office was in the US, they didn't really care where I was.
Okay.
At PwC was based in Montreal, and since I'm based in Montreal, there was kind of like the expectation of like, hey, I'm in Montreal. Yes, I'm working remotely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would go to the office, but then if I wanted to go to I don't know like Vancouver, then I would need to ask permission, etc. But then DXC was all over the place. So I remember like I was going to Algeria, Mexico, etc. I was just working from anywhere, and as long as the job was being done, like we had no issues.
Great. And like you said that you wanted to have American clients, and also like you have been talking about salary. So
Yeah.
like, did you get like why Americans, and like did the salary like follow like in DXC?
Yeah, so 2 things really important. By doing the switch from PwC to DXC, I learned a valuable lesson. So your skills are worth much more than you think, and it depends where you are. So for salary, skills matter, but also the type of company and the location. So I was at 62K at PwC. Yeah, 62K. Oh, they did give me a raise, like a 4% raise. So I was at like 63K, I think. Before I left. And then just by switching to DXC Technology, I was making 140.
Wow.
So
you doubled.
More than doubled.
Yeah.
More than doubled. And then I remember at that time, like people would not believe me, like when I was saying like, hey, you need to like get out from those big firms, go to like smaller firms where one, you'll get more experience, which is more valuable than money.
Of course.
And then you'll get more money. So it's like the perfect scenario, right? So yeah. And then from my perspective, American clients would give me more experience, more scenarios, more experience in general.
Okay.
Just because at PwC it was very narrow. I had just Quebec clients, and Quebec clients are nice.
Yeah.
But the scenarios or their examples are very specific to Quebec, for example.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Did you have any side hustles while working at PwC and DXC?
Yeah, well, I'm very grateful for that first year at PwC because, I wasn't staffed in a project. I had a lot of free time. I was like, is this life? I graduated. I thought that PwC was like going to be like, oh my God, But that first year I had nothing to do. And because of the nature of person of like myself, I know myself, like I need to be doing something. I need to be growing every day. I thought like I need to do something. So I started exploring some path. So first I started a resume website.
Okay.
I remember I blew.
I remember that.
I remember. So for context, by the way, I while in university, I started freelancing on Upwork. I was writing resumes for $5, five to $10,
Wow.
just to try it out. And man, I think the most expensive resume I wrote was for $100
Okay.
for like an Australian guy or something.
Okay.
So that was interesting. And because of that, I was like, hey, why not go out of Upwork and like create a website,
Okay.
you know? And so I was like, okay, so how do I attract traffic? I was like, okay, ads. That was the only thing I knew at that time because I didn't want to show my face on camera. I didn't want to do content. I didn't want to do anything from that like that. So I blew $500
Okay.
on traffic. I had, I think, it was good traffic. Like 400 people actually clicked and went to the website.
Okay.
But the website was crappy. No testimonials. I had no knowledge about like marketing or anything like that. And then no sales.
purchases,
Yeah, no sales. And so I was like, okay, so I won't do that again because $500 is like 1/4 of my salary at that time. So I was like, no, I can't do that again. And that's how like slowly by chatting with people, by just doing some research, I was like, the only way I can succeed is by putting myself out there and start creating content. That was the start of the side hustle.
It takes time to figure that out, but
Yeah.
when you figure that out,
You
I
just
think
go
you
all
are
in.
the right path. Yes.
Yeah.
So you had a side hustle. You have been always interested in HR, like since you like write resumes. You chose Workday by mistake, and by the way, Workday is mainly an ERP, but the niche is HR. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's how they started. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, today it's much bigger, but
Yeah.
still, like when we say Workday for us, it's
HR. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So was that like only God's plan? Like is it destiny? Like how? And now you are entrepreneur AI. We will arrive to that point.
Yeah.
But like
I believe in skill stacking,
okay,
which means that when you have a certain skill, it's much better to stack those skills together so that you have something very worthy at the very end. Because other people, they will have like this skill and then that other skill that has no relationship. And so it's much harder to build, that expertise and ask for a lot of money from it, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I wrote resumes by accident just because I knew how to write resumes, good resumes. But then Workday was God's plan.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Workday is HR. Wow, okay, cool. So it's still HR, let's say. But then from there, I was like, okay, I think I'm in a good niche. I should keep going. And that's where, the website for resumes, even my YouTube channel at first was just talking about job search.
yeah.
So I still, I still wanted to keep doing the same thing just to stack those skills.
I saw your videos on YouTube, and they are very corporate oriented at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like how to scale, how to be promoted, all that stuff.
Yeah.
After that, you went to independent consulting.
Yeah.
Why and how?
Yeah. So after I switched from PwC to DXC, I stayed there for 2 years. COVID hit DXC very hard compared to other companies. So the practice, let's say, had some bad times. And so for me at that time, I was like, okay, I can continue working there, but I didn't see a growth path, or I can go independent. I didn't want to go to another company and just do the same thing.
Can you just explain what's independent for the people that
Yeah, of
don't know
course.
what's that? Like,
Going independent is taking your own skills, and instead of giving it to a company, you just give it to yourself so that you can find clients on your own instead of the company that you're working for.
Okay.
Basically, it's freelancing. It's just another fancy word for freelancing. That's why when they say like independent consultant, you're just a freelancer, but like it's just a fancy word.
Okay.
So yeah, I became independent because of that, because of it. The circumstances pushed me into that decision. I knew that I was gonna do it. I didn't know that I was gonna do it that soon.
Okay.
But yeah, that just pushed me to.
But why that soon and like how?
Yeah. So yeah, as I told you, so at the very like mid 2021, I was like, okay, so there's no path forward at DXC. I didn't want to go to another corporate job. So I decided like, okay, so independent consulting is the path I should take. And I started doing my research. I already knew a few guys like you and another friend who were already independent. And so I asked for advice I had a lot of preconceived ideas around it, and I had to break them all before making the final decision.
Okay.
What I really liked, and that's full credits to DXC, is that I was very transparent with them. I was like, hey, like I'm leaving in like 3 months. You should find a replacement. I'm happy to help with that. And they were very understanding.
Great.
And I was able to find my first client, then leave DXC, and then just keep going this way.
Amazing. I remember our conversation in the car where
Yeah.
you were asking for advice.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was a little bit difficult maybe for you coming from a really corporate mindset, like with the big fours, with DXC, and like you had a pretty good condition.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like you were very well paid. And
That was my issue. You talk a lot about golden handcuffs, right?
handcuffs.
Yeah, that was my issue. I had no reasons to leave.
Exactly.
And so when other people are like, yeah, I became a freelancer because I wasn't well paid, I had like crappy conditions, I cannot relate to that. Like
Yeah.
I had a very good condition.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the way it is.
So I remember like I told you, you know what? You need to do it. The worst thing that can happen to you is you don't like it and you go back.
Yeah.
You know what? And sometimes we overcomplicate stuff for nothing. Just try it. And after that you tried it, I remember you found your first client in Alberta,
Yeah.
Cambridge.
Yeah.
So how was your experience?
So it broke a lot of misconception. The first misconception I think that I was afraid of was as an independent consultant, I'll be alone and the client will rely 100% on me.
Yeah.
And that wasn't true. Like even if you're independent, you're like, okay, you're among other people, you have colleagues, you can ask for help, and you're allowed to say, I don't know, but give me 2 days, I'll find a solution, right?
Yeah.
So after I discovered this, I was like, that's exactly like a corporate job, but you're just independent. You have more freedom. You're more paid.
You're paid twice. Okay. So we can basically consider that was your first step into entrepreneurship.
I think that was my first very successful step into entrepreneurship. I had tried a lot of stuff before. As you mentioned, I had a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I was building an audience. A lot of people were interested in my job search strategies and job search training. And, I sold coaching, I sold courses. That was my real first experience because for the first time I was creating something from scratch and people would pay money for it. Mm-hmm. It's just that at that time I didn't have the skills to make it sustainable and make it and to scale it. And so I just continued in my path, and then I found independent consulting where I had really good skills that I can sell for premium, and that's why I say like that independent consulting is my very first successful step into entrepreneurship. Let's say.
Great. So now you are an entrepreneur. You sell your time for premium. You have clients. So how was that going for you? Like, for how much time did you live like that? Mm-hmm. Can you just describe how independent consulting was for you?
Yeah. So it's been 3 years, almost 4 now, as an independent consultant. I think at first it's hard because finding your first client, building your network, knowing the right people who can hook you up with contracts with clients, etc. It takes time. It takes a year and a half. But once you have that network, then it gets very easy, especially if you strategize your workload. For example, the rule that I always talk about on LinkedIn and online is, always have 2 clients at the same time, maybe one full-time, one part-time. It gives you that security and that continuity. So even if one contract ends, you have the second one afterwards, and then you can just repeat that cycle again and again. So yeah, at first it was rough, but then after the first 2 years, then work is steady, and you just keep growing from there.
And did you continue your other business about like job search, etc., while being an independent consultant?
No, so I had to stop that just because I realized, independent consulting, my workday skills and my consultant skills are worth much more than, job search coaching. And also, I started to listen to people like Alex Hormozy, for example, and his main example in his first book, 100 Million Offers, he talks about, people who try to sell things to unemployed people, which, it doesn't make sense.
That was me before.
I know. I remember I remember you told me this, but sometimes you need to hear things like 10 times before you understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, these people, they don't have a big budget, and so it's hard to scale that kind of business.
I remember we were at Queen Elizabeth Hotel. We went with Frank to eat there.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So I was like, so you're trying to sell a high ticket
Yeah.
to someone who does not have a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And
But wait, so here's the thing. There are people who are successful with that. So when I see these people, I was like, I can replicate it. It's just that it's not the best boat to be in.
yeah, it's
That's
just and at that time I was already exploring like everything related to vetting.
yeah.
And I told you about my experience with TQIS.
Yeah.
COVID hit at that time, and that stopped.
Yeah.
Like even like I restarted it after at a lower scale. But I told you, like, with you, with your audience, with your YouTube channel, you're in HR. It's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I
that
do remember
you
that.
go to that field.
Yeah, I do remember.
And today you have Turban AI.
Yeah.
And that basically originated from that thought process, right?
Yeah. Turban
So,
AI is
yeah. What's Turban AI?
Yeah, so Turban AI I think is a project that wouldn't be possible without all of the steps and the experience that I lived.
Yeah.
So first of all, Workday is the main skill that I needed to found something like that. But then I needed my experience as an independent consultant. And then I needed my experience with staffing before founding Turban AI.
Okay.
So
let's go to staffing first.
Yes.
After that, we'll finish with Turban AI. So you are doing a lot of money. Like, we don't want to get to the numbers, but you were doing a lot of money. A lot of people would just stop there, right?
Yeah.
And say, you know what, I'm doing great, right? I can do everything I want. I can travel. You can work from anywhere. Why going to staffing at that particular time?
Yeah, I think, okay, so cool. I know that I'm not the only one, but I can't be satisfied with just one thing. Even if I know myself, like, even if I went to 100 million, I'll try to find a way to go to 1 billion, right?
Yeah.
It's just what drives me, just the challenges. So it's not about the money. It was about sustainability, and also how I was making the money, and also how I see the future. So as an independent consultant, you're selling your time for money.
Yeah.
My time is, I have a lot of time now that I'm 29 or even before. But as time goes on, I will have less time though. So I'm thinking about myself like, okay, at 40 years old, maybe I won't be able to give 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week to work, with clients. And so what will I do then? Yes, I can invest my money, etc., blah, blah, blah. But I also wanted my main activity to not be tied to money. Mm-hmm. So independent consultants who want to go to the next stage, start selling packages, which is, the right path in my opinion. Yeah. So instead of selling hours, you sell a value-based outcome. Yeah. So instead of like, hey, employ me for 3 months and we'll work on that, I'll tell you like, hey, like, we'll implement XYZ and it's going to cost you 50K. Okay. That's a much better model that you can keep for the rest of your life, by the way. Yeah. So you can stop there. It's just that model wasn't that interesting to me. So I started to think about other ways. And so other ways is, why not supply those contracts, those opportunities to other people? Because I was already doing it in my YouTube channel. You see how it's a continuity. Yeah, so it's just a continuity of everything that I've been doing the past 7 years. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, instead of selling job search packages to people who are unemployed, I can just give contracts to already very skilled people who already have a job, and it costs no money because it's staffing. Like I can just give you a project and just take a small percentage out of out of that project. It's kind of like affiliate marketing if you think about it.
I know.
And so I started doing that. Also very rough, also very competitive, especially in Workday.
Yeah.
I tried multiple times to try other positions where I succeeded maybe once or twice, but every time I was like, I'm more skilled in Workday. I understand Workday more. And so let me just stay within that niche, even if it's very competitive. And let me try to do something better than what's out there. And that's how Turban AI was born.
So now, what's Turban AI?
What's Turban AI?
Yeah.
Turban AI is a platform that connects Workday customers with Workday independent consultants. So basically, in my experience in independent consulting, I found a lot of issues from Workday customers and also independent consultants. So from Workday customers, for example, they would say things like, I cannot find a very good independent consultant, right? Or they cost so much. Or the hiring process is so cumbersome. Like it takes too much time to find an independent consultant. And so Turban AI solves these three problems. Number one, we vet all of the independent consultants coming in the platform, so you don't need to worry about the quality. Two, budget-wise, we're much cheaper than other staffing agencies and other consulting firms, so the margins are better. And three, since it's a platform, everything is digitized. You just click on a bunch of buttons and then you have an independent consultant.
Okay.
We don't do emails, we don't do phone calls.
Okay. And how you are cheaper? Like, are you just competing on price? How are you?
Yeah, we're competing on those three aspects that I told you. So we want the very best independent consultants.
But if you want the very best, you need to pay them much. So how you're cheaper?
Basically, with those big consulting firms and those big staffing agencies, I think that they have a lot of overhead.
Okay.
And so just to stay afloat, they need those big margins.
Yeah.
As a small team, we're only 4 people. And as a SaaS product, we don't need 50 people to run it. And because we're very small and because we're utilizing technology to do stuff, then we can ask for less money because we can afford it.
So technically, instead of having a recruiter taking like a lot of workload and taking a lot of clients, a lot of calls, etc., like the platform is doing the job.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And you code that once,
yes,
and then it
exactly,
does the job.
Exactly. You have an asset after that.
Exactly, just like your trading bot.
Yes, cool. So I like automation, so that's why I'm asking. Okay, so you have the word AI.
Yeah.
Why?
So basically, we're jumping on this trend where AI is a big feature in every SaaS product and in our everyday life. So basically, again, instead of using a recruiter or instead of using a human being to do the vetting, to do the matching, to call the independent consultant like, hey, are you available, etc., we're using an AI algorithm to do that matching. Basically, you input what you want. So what's your problem? What's your problem that you're encountering in Workday? And then using that information, we're fetching consultants based on that information. And on the other side, we ask consultants very specific questions and very specific data fields in their profile so that we can do that matching in a very concise way.
Great. You launched a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What was the market response? And how are you doing?
Actually, since I have a relatively good audience on LinkedIn, the response was great. I think consultants were very, very happy. Because a product like this should exist, even if it wasn't me, like it should exist. Yeah. Like when I started independent consulting, the first thing that I looked at was platforms just like Upwork or Fiverr or any other platforms, right? And there wasn't. You need to rely on actual human beings like, hey, like, do you have any opportunities? And that's very inefficient. And so consultants were on board. Now we're talking with a few clients trying to scope their projects and see if Turban AI is a good fit with them. But I know that a platform like this will exist and will dominate the market. The question is, will it be Turban AI or another one?
Look, how do you do today to find your clients? Because at the end of the day, Not every single company can afford Workday.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive platform. You need really to go to the SP 500 companies. You need to go to relatively large companies.
Yeah.
How do you get in contact with those big names?
Yeah. So this is true, but not 100% anymore.
Okay.
Because Workday now has saturated the enterprise level companies.
Okay.
I think more than, I don't remember the stats like, but more than 30% of Fortune 500 companies have Workday now.
Yeah.
So it's coming close to saturation.
Okay.
And so now Workday is targeting the medium enterprise. And so those are easier to target.
Okay.
But my strategy stays the same. I'm very good at content marketing. And so by creating content on LinkedIn, by giving valuable advice and resources to those VP of HRs, HRIS specialists, etc., they see my content, they see my profile, and with the right exposure and the right call to action, that's how you start those conversations. And then yes, since those are big companies, you don't close them in like 2 days.
I know.
It takes time. It takes weeks, even months sometimes. So that's the main strategy. I also use cold emails.
Okay.
Which I really like. But if I would need to choose just one strategy, it would be content marketing. Yes.
Great. Now that you launched and like we can say that you closed the chapter of independent consulting and like you are really on your own. Are you afraid sometimes?
Always. Yeah. So entrepreneurship is not about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and still take action, which I still struggle sometimes. Like some days I just wake up and I don't want to do anything just because I don't feel like it, right?
Life, yeah.
But you need to keep going even during the low times because there will be upper times, if I can say.
Of course. And what's hard now that you started? Like, what are the difficulties that you're facing? You said that you are in a very agile team for people. I know that. No, I will ask another question. But like, what's hard today?
I think it's too early to say really like what is hard because right now we're just we're very early, so we just launched publicly.
So everything is easy.
No, not everything is easy. It's just that. I don't know what is hard. Like everything. No. Okay, here's the answer. Everything is hard. Everything is hard. So even getting the very best consultants is hard. Getting clients is hard. Maintaining the platform is hard. Resolving bugs is hard. However, I know that not everything should be hard. So as we progress, some things will become easier and some other things will stay hard, if I can say. And so those things we will focus on to make it easy.
Right. Where's your head office today and where's your team located?
My team is all remote. So there's me and my co-founder in Montreal. We have our product designer in South Africa, and we have our client success manager in South Africa.
Nice.
And we're seeing if we can add maybe 2 more people, maybe one in the US, one in Canada. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm a remote first company. So if you're watching this, but like 2 years in advance, like you can reach out if you want a remote job.
Exactly. So you're still hiring people, and a lot of, AI is taking over the world. We will no longer have any jobs for human beings because we're using AI now. What's your response to that?
I don't think so. So I was talking to a recruiter a few weeks ago, and he said that all of these talent intelligence platform will replace recruiters, etc. I don't believe that because I still believe that the human relationship is very important. It's just that the recruiters who will use those AI tools will be much ahead, and those are the people who will keep their job. If you're just doing the calling and the emailing, those are easily automated, then yes, you may lose your job in the next few years.
Okay.
But like if you're using AI to, I don't know, better vet candidates or find candidates 5 times faster, those are the things that will keep you relevant.
So your advice to recruiters is have a human relationship with your clients.
Yes,
meet with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
human relationship, and use these tools to just be number one at your job.
Okay, great. So we have a tradition in this show. We call it Steroid Shot.
Yeah.
So I will ask you a question that we think is difficult to answer.
Yeah.
What's the mistake that you think it was good doing it, like in your career, in your experience?
Okay. Yeah, I like this question. Um, I'm gonna quote Alex Hormozy again.
My God.
He's like number one mentor. Okay, so the opportunity vehicle that you choose is, I think, one of the most important choice that you need to make, right? When I started my YouTube channel and I started creating content, I could choose anything, right?
Yeah.
But I chose job search
Yeah.
just because I thought that I was in the same niche, etc. It is not the right vehicle, in my opinion. And that's why I kind of struggled so much at being consistent, creating like videos, etc. Because at a certain point, like it wasn't like that fun, and that's why I started creating content that weren't really specific to job search. But I know that if I had chosen another vehicle, then maybe my YouTube channel would be at like 1 million subscribers now, right?
Yeah.
However, it was a necessary mistake because it just led me to this path. Because certain people may say like, okay, you're doing independent consulting and Turban AI right now, and it's not related to YouTube or anything, but it's wrong. Like I'm using all of the years of content creation that I learned, even creating videos, etc. I'm using all of that today, and I think that I'm in a really good spot in my niche in content creation and in just video marketing in general.
Nice. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
True.
necessary mistake that I made that led me to where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. First time I met you, and like you were doing your job search and helping consultants find their first contracts, etc.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, this guy doesn't know the potential that he can have
Yeah.
with corporate clients. Like those are the people you need to target. And,
Yeah.
and I'm really happy to see now that you are with the Turban AI. I think that this product is amazing. Like we've talked about it like hours and hours. I think that is going to be a big change in the market. I hope that it's going to work for you, man.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you very much for listening to us. It's the end of this podcast today. I hope that I will see you in the next episode where we will be talking again about entrepreneurship, about money, about investing, about crypto, about regulations, about taxes. That's our topic, and hope to see you next time, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.